Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. Welcome back to VALORANT news. The Tarik Ludwig Invitational tournament concluded last night. Sentinels out of the tournament earlier than expected. Lots of reaction to this one from everywhere, but also TenZ giving his thoughts on what it's going to help with their practice going forwards, and even Sentinels CEO responding to some of the ShahZaM questions that gain maybe even more traction based on the performance yesterday. Very much enjoy your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. First big news of the day, that probably the World Championship in 2023 will be held in the US and in Los Angeles. That's the most probable environment at the moment. Of course, last year it was held in Istanbul, and really there hasn't been many mega events in the North American side so far. I think it'll be a banger when it happens, and apparently, yes, the US is going to host Champions 23. I think that makes sense, right, given the fact that last season was OpTic versus, Brazil in the finals, or OpTic versus Saudi in the finals, North American, South American team, and the kickoff event this season, which is arguably going to be the biggest event of the year with all 30 teams, maybe 32 teams if a couple of Chinese teams get invited, as they might do or might not. We don't really have that long to go at this point till the event. It's only a month away, less than a month away now, 28 days or so until that event kicks off, so it kind of makes sense to have the World Championship as a result, probably in North America, and Riot love doing things in LA, as is usually the case. Now, let's talk about this tournament last night then. Kind of crazy between TSM, the guards. T1, of course, went out relatively early on, and Sentinels were there as well. We saw ShahZaM say the other day, he thought, okay, Sentinels should be favourites. They are, of course, alongside T1, the only franchise team here. The Guard and TSM, both tier 2 teams. Now, in fairness, the Guard and TSM, they will have been practicing a little bit sooner than Sentinels have. They should have a bit more time. I think their season starts a bit earlier as well, slightly earlier than the tier 1 scene does for the kickoff in Sao Paulo. But still, it would be interesting to see the skill gap here. It was a great and really well-run event, and I'm really impressed by, Ludwig always does a great job with this stuff, but just the way it was set up, the kind of, as I say, beyond the summit type setup here, there's kind of a couch, anyone could come in and just have a chat with people, always a good time. And yeah, the production, there was like one tech pause, it was just phenomenally well done. The audio, all the extra kind of segments they had, it was like an incredibly well organized event. The Mogul Moves guys did a great job. Whoever was organizing this and kind of broadcasting it just did a cracking job. And it's kind of funny to think that Riot Games themselves, every single one of their events they put on is less well run than this by a margin, to be honest. So congratulations to all involved, awesome stuff. Hopefully they can do it again at some point in the future. And there was obviously some various funny things coming as a result of this, because Ludwig was playing in the show match, and Zekken may have briefly taken control of his computer to make a few good plays. But let's talk about this first series then. Sentinels versus TSM, the losers bracket game, and this, of course, like the E-Classico of VALORANT, really, esports. It's been a long time since I've seen Sentinels TSM. Sen won the first matchup, right, a couple of days ago now, and TSM got revenge last night. These were the overall numbers here. Corey Hayes had a great series as well on the Viper. Cool to see Hayes try, because obviously he's getting on a bit in age right now, but they did decide, TSM, to bring him back into this roster again, build a team around him, and having some good success with him so far. Fracture was 13-9 to TSM, and then 13-6 on the final game, and Dephh had a bit of a shocker, certainly game 1, Dephh had a shocker, 5-18 on the Cypher, wasn't looking so good, and yeah, just pretty interesting stuff, right? Okay, Sassy had a pretty bad series here as well. TenZ still top fragged, and still ended up with the highest rating of the entire tournament, but yeah, it's got to be said that the winner of this, in a way, is the ShahZaM side of things, right? Because the other day he talked about the fact that, they were forcing him to play with Shroud to try and get a spot, and now the jokes are there, oh, wow, they're forcing Zekken to play with Dephh to promise him a franchise spot and all this type of stuff, because obviously Dephh wasn't exactly looking so hot yesterday. Look, he's an IGL, he's not expected to drop crazy numbers, but still, it's not like the IGLing was going so cleanly either. Of course, Dephh not even spelt correctly here, but whatever. Pretty funny stuff. But yes, Sentinels, out of 4 teams of the tournament, they managed to go out, third out of the 4 teams with T1, another franchise team, and the top 2 teams of the tourney are teams that aren't even in franchising. So yeah, quite interesting to think how this will work out. Yes, it's very early days, these teams have not been practicing particularly long, certainly Sentinels have not, but yeah, it's kind of surprising in a way that they looked rather good on the first day of the tournament. It looked like, okay, wow, yeah, we're going to get that Sentinels versus the Guard match in the grand finals, because they'll probably beat TSM again. Didn't happen though, completely different story that time around, and yeah, Sentinels go down without too much resistance, to be honest. TSM were making fun of them as well. So yeah, what do you guys think about this? Obviously, it's early days. I know that people are going to be talking trash already about this Sentinels team. I don't think there's really too much to say so far. More interested to see how they get on at Sao Paulo. And I think this actually can be a positive for Sentinels, because this team and the coaching staff and everyone involved, I'm sure they're very confident in their setup. But losing as they have done here to TSM, a team that, I wouldn't imagine is going to be the very top of challengers. They should be up there, obviously, but I don't think they're going to be the best team. I don't expect this team to be winning Ascension or anything, to be honest. Losing in that fashion to this team will show Sentinels that, okay, you know, it's not going to be easy and clean sailing here. We've got to make sure that we can focus up and deliver the result, and certainly TenZ seems to believe that, okay, yeah, they need to ensure that as a result of this, they learn and focus up. A bit of a wake-up call in a way, I think, losing a series like this, and it's probably good to have that, because if you're a team like, okay, Cloud9 got that a bit with 100 Thieves, but if you're a team like NRG, let's just say, and you were to, I think they either denied the invite or I think they got an invite, they didn't decide to attend, or maybe like they probably couldn't have done 5 teams anyway, they would have needed more to make that work. But you know, if you don't attend a tournament like this, then you run the risk of you turn up to the big one, then you lose a series you're not expected to, and it catches you massively off guard. So I think it could actually be good for Sentinels to lose this series. And as Psycho says, lost to TSM out of the Invitational, bit chaotic. Playing a tournament with 6 days of practice was good fun. 1 month until the kickoff, back to the grind at Sao Paulo on the mind, he goes on to say. And even as TenZ says, time to get back to practice to prepare for the big Sao Paulo tournament. Even at Cloud9 Valorant say this is our competition. So I think this is going to be an eternal meme they could use nowadays with the guys looking at the screen. And this, of course, being TSM versus Sentinels on the screen. So clearly Cloud9 are feeling rather optimistic based on this result. And even this from dapr, right? Ascension invites better than franchise invites. Because in fairness, right, G2 looking like one of the strongest teams in Tier 2 right now. The Guard, Tier 2 Valorant team, TSM, Tier 2 Valorant team, both came into the grand finals of this tourney, and it was Sentinels and T1 that failed to make it. So yeah, it does raise into question as well the validity of this format to a certain degree, that the franchise teams might actually not be on the whole too much better, if better at all, than the Ascension teams. But you know, we've got the Challengers teams as they are, and of course one of those teams will get invited, but it kind of just is what it is. And look, it's early days, small tournament, it's not going to make that much difference in terms of the overall level, but just goes to show there is a lot of very good teams down there in Tier 2 right now, and for good reason. Now, Marved says the following, so that was kind of funny. DM me at Sentinels, basically saying, look guys, you need a replacement here, get me in. If you need a new controller player. And Marved, every single week that goes by, is throwing another hint around about making a potential return to Tier 1, and I think that Marved is such a player that when a team wants to make a change, they will, you know, some team will bring him back in without too much difficulty, I imagine. It's not like his stock has fallen off a cliff or anything at all. Even dapr here is kind of looking back on what was happening during the off-season and the rostermania period, where dapr was potentially going to stay. Marved to Sentinels was definitely a conversation we were having, and I mean, yeah, Marved reckons it would have been a dynasty, and maybe would be better than the current iteration of what Sentinels are up to. And also, this I thought was funny from Sinatraa, chill, you're an untamable beast. Of course, their return to competitive team they're making, that at Marved it clearly also doesn't expect to do particularly well.
We were experimenting a little bit, and I like my first games on KO, like we had like a block of scrims, but from like the first scrim to like the last scrim, my KO became like a lot better, and actually a lot of my teammates liked my KO, and so it kind of opened up opportunity to like experiment more, see what direction we want to approach. And, you know, it's actually really good that we played this thingy, because sometimes there's like some things that you only learn about your team when you actually play a match. And you can see like, because like scrims are scrims, right? Scrims are practice. You don't actually 100% see like what can happen a lot of the time. And obviously, like, tension is like higher in a match, so a lot of aspects that play a role.
But I think what you have seen is the raw skill level of this group. Yes. Feels like could be a good team. Yes. Feels like.
No, I think they've surprised not only us but themselves as well. I was talking to them a little bit, and they're like, "Damn, like we didn't think we were gonna turn up like this," because practice has been like they're obviously just getting into it, and like
wait, Rob Moore is a legend, bro.
Brought the
Rob Moore is a legend
to a high level.
This guy is a legend.
Are you?
I've talked to this guy many times, bro. He's a legend.
Became infamous on Friday. That's me.
Hey, I love your tweets. Excellent.
All right, I'm not going to go on a whole discourse about what happened last year, which couldn't have been a worse season for us, but it feels like we've turned a page, and that the group we have feels like they're getting along and ready to put in the work.
Yeah, you have Pancata, Saucy, second. Yeah,
Well, I thought he was about to start talking about it, bro. I was like, what?
I ain't gonna lie, he just said y'all were ass.
So fair play to James Coblington, right, and the guys over there at TSM for winning this match, and then they went into the grand finals against the Guards. Even as Marv says, keep being scared to play and tweeting, bro, do that one. You were so scared you left our team. So again, Chet and Marv having a bit of a Twitter discussion. So, you know, do they want him back? I wouldn't rule it out. Now, this was the grand finals, the Guard versus TSM here. So in the end, it was pretty easy for the Guards, certainly on the final map of the series, but before then it was an absolute banger. So Pearl was 14-12 to TSM, great overtime match here. Game 2 was 13-11, back the way of the Guards, and I mean, yeah, Trent just shows his stuff, man. This guy's out of control. And then 13-1 on Haven, that was completely GG, and there was seemingly nothing left in the tank for TSM. But yeah, Trent top fragging on the Sova, 51 in 43, highest rating in the lobby. Not a massive surprise at this point, but yeah, still mind blown. No franchise team trying to get that guy, and yeah, maybe a sign of things to come here for the tier 2 scene as well going forwards. And even Mike's right from 100 Thieves says, you know, I'm terrified to stream the Guards. They're looking very good. 100 Thieves is winning it all though, says Ned. So still based on our performance or what we've seen so far, Sentinels aren't there yet, and maybe never will be there, but they're certainly not there yet. So we know that 100 Thieves are there. We know that Cloud9 are probably not too far behind. We don't know what NRG are doing, but it's very interesting to look at the top 5 teams of North America in the Pro League, in the top tier scene, and say, okay, how many of those teams could you simply make a swap for a tier 2 team, and it actually makes the tier 1 scene more competitive as it stands. But as I say, probably a good thing for Sentinels to get this loss in now, and I think it'll probably help them going forwards. These were the top rated players on the whole. TenZ got pegged back a fair bit in that final series, but nonetheless 1.28 rating for him. Then Trent, then Corey, then Hazed as well. Kind of cool to see Hazed up here, and then Yoda P from the Guard as well, rounding out the top 5. And well, these were all the numbers just to close out the video. So very much enjoyed your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.